My favorite Old Testament Bible figure is without any doubt the prophet Elijah. Hebrews 11 gives a mention to the prophets of old. Elijah was a man who walked with God with incredible faith. And there was this one time when the prophets of Baal had been destroying the morality of the nation of Israel. Elijah said, "Enough already." He called a test on top of Mount Carmel. I wish you could go there. It's a beautiful location. You can oversee the whole valley below. And there he said, "Build an altar to your God. I'll build an altar to my God, and we'll cry out and see who listens to whom." Of course, you would know that the prophets of Baal cried out all day and nothing happened. And finally, they even began cutting themselves and nothing happened. Elijah says to them, "Well, maybe your God's asleep. Maybe he's using the restroom. You need to yell a little bit louder." They screamed themselves into a frenzy and still nothing. At the time of the sacrifice, Elijah said, "Now prepare the altar of God." And there he put a large trench, and he took wood and the sacrifice of the animals. And then he said, "Now pour water on it." And they poured so much water on it that it overflowed the trench. And then Elijah prayed a simple prayer and asked God to prove himself to be the one true God. Fire came down and it ate up the sacrifice. God answered by fire, and the sacrifice was gone, and the fire even consumed all of the water that had been in the trough. Elijah went from there, and he was threatened by a lady named Jezebel. Don't recommend anybody names your daughter Jezebel. Jezebel threatened Elijah's life, and he became despairing. Even though he's a man of faith, he was a man of deep emotion. And there he laid down in the desert and asked God to just let him die. God came and took care of him and ministered to him, gave him some food from the angels. That would be angels' food, cake. And then Elijah goes further. He comes to the mountain of God, and there's an earthquake, and there's fire, there's wind. God is not in any of those, but he's in a still, small voice. And he says, "Elijah, I haven't forgotten you. I know who you are. I know what you've been through. And I even know about the future I have for you." And he called him into the future and gave him the prophet that would take his place along the way. I love the story of Elijah because it reminds us that God uses our faith in spite of our limited perspective, in spite of our fear, in spite of our worries about the future. God is able to prove himself faithful as we give himself faithfully ourselves. I don't know what you might be struggling with. A test, the morality around you that looks like it's not what it might be. The call of God for you to stand up in your family, your workplace, your situation. The fear of what's going on that has to be overcome. The sense of failure that Elijah went through. Or the future. God, how would you use me? What would you like my life to look like in this next phase? God wants to use each of us and will prove himself faithful as we give to him. My prayer for you and for me, that we walk well with God in this one-a-day journey of faith. God bless you. I'm Pastor Tim.